There are some big fixture swings in FPL and there are some new essential players for you guys to own in your teams. Welcome back to another players to buy video. We are looking at the top 5 players to own in each position. Make sure you like and subscribe and let's get right into the video. As always, we are going to start off with the defenders, and first up we are looking at Dan Burn. Newcastle are still the second strongest defence in the league, despite in their last 2 games not doing too well on the clean sheets. They're still very strong in the expected clean sheets and the expected goals conceded. Despite Newcastle's fixture run not being amazing, they're still a really strong defence, like I just said, so they have potential to keep clean sheets in those grey fixtures against those mid-table teams. Dan Burn for Defcons isn't doing as well as he has been recently because he's been moved to fullback, but long term he is still the best Newcastle defender to own because all the other ones, when there's a fully fit back line, are either rotation risks or just bad options being too expensive. Next up we have Van Dijk. Despite playing away to Man City in a couple game weeks time, Liverpool have one of the best fixture runs in the game. In the next 6 game weeks they have that one tough game against Man City and the rest of their fixtures are green, so they are a really good team to target. Van Dijk does well for Defcons, and obviously Liverpool haven't been doing too well on the clean sheets recently, but they've had quite a tough run of games, and I do believe they will be keeping some more clean sheets in the near future because their expected clean sheets aren't super low. As you can see here, they're all right, you know, it's not bad. Now the good fixtures are coming, the clean sheets could start rolling in. So yeah, Van Dijk maybe not worth the 6 million when you could be getting a player like Saliba or Timber, but on the whole he's a pretty good player to buy because he could get clean sheets, he could get Defcons, and he could score from a set piece. Now you're gonna laugh, okay? Picking a defender from a team who has got 0 clean sheets in the last 8 games is pretty diabolical. It's not a good choice, but you have to understand Brighton have had some tough games. Now they're playing the likes of Leeds, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, and after that the games still are very, very easy. So looking at Van Hecke as an option, while it doesn't seem great on paper, you know, he does have chances for a clean sheet because their underlying defensive data, as you can see here, it's not bad, guys. The actual output, you know, the actual goals conceded and the actual clean sheets is awful. But if you look at the underlying data, it's just average, you know, it's mid-table, it's not awful. And you do have that insurance policy with the Defcons as well. He does very well for them. And in those games where you don't keep a clean sheet, he could still get a 4-pointer. These first 3 defenders we've talked about are just good options. They're not exactly fantastic. The first 2 are absolute 100% essentials for your FPL teams. Now, Gabriel is here, and a lot of you watching this will own Gabriel. I'm here to tell you an Arsenal double up or triple up is so insanely valid. It is such a good idea. I said earlier this season, I do believe Arsenal are going to be keeping at least 20 clean sheets this season. Well, not at least 20 clean sheets, but I reckon they'll get around that number because their defense is ridiculously strong. And when I say ridiculously strong, it's insane, guys. They've conceded 1 goal from open play in 9 game weeks. I don't think you understand how ridiculous that is. Not to mention, Gabriel's Defcons are really good. I think we may see one of the highest scores from a defender ever in FPL this season. I don't care how bad their fixture run looks, guys. I really don't. They are so solid at the back. They can keep a clean sheet against any team in the league. So yeah, Gabriel, Timber, Saliba, Raya, get all them Arsenal players if you can. Bring them all in. Now, this was an easy first place pick. Daniel Munoz, insane fixture run. Decent defense, you know, the Crystal Palace underlying data is all right, but we're mainly bringing Munoz in for that underlying data going forward. He has 0.34 expected goal involvements per 90 for a defender. That is unreal. Even for an attacker, that's not bad. For a midfielder or a forward, you know, costing 5.6 million, you would think that's really good underlying data going forward. But we're looking at that data for a defender, which is just ridiculous. In the last 8 game weeks, he's averaged a goal involvement every other game. Every 2 games, he's getting a goal or an assist. That is absolutely ridiculous, guys. It's something you just can't ignore. The Defcons, they're not great. He may hit it now and then, but yeah, Munoz, absolutely #1 essential defender to own. You are going to be missing out so much if you do not own him. He's going to be low owned the next couple game weeks, but after that, he is probably going to be one of the highest owned players in FPL, especially one of the highest owned defenders. So make sure you're jumping on Munoz while he's still a differential. Picking midfielders was kind of difficult. There's not a lot of amazing options to choose from. While Minte's underlying data is still not great, and ever since I've recommended him, he's not done too well. His fixture run is still one of the best in FPL, and his underlying data, while it's not great, it's not terrible at the same time. I mean, he does have less expected goal involvements per 90 than Munoz, which is not fantastic, let's be honest, but he is the only reliable Brighton midfielder to take advantage of this really good fixture run coming up for them. So he's in the list, you know, there's not anyone else I'd put ahead of him despite how poor his underlying data has been recently. Looking at the 2 Manchester United midfielders, I have put Mbumo above Bruno, but at the end of the day, I really think they're insanely similar. I'm not going to say which one is better than the other in this video because I'm going to save that for tomorrow's video, the transfer tips video, where we'll go more in depth. As of right now, we'll call it a tie. Okay, they're both tied third. The reason I've put Mbeumo above him is just because, you know, Mbeumo came away with 2 goals in that last game and Bruno came away with none, which was incredibly unlucky. Bruno could have easily had a penalty that game. Bruno had a couple big chances himself as well as Mbeumo, and you can see here the expected goals and the expected assists aren't too different between the two of them. They both have their own advantages and disadvantages. As you can see, Mbeumo is nowhere near DEFCONs, but Bruno has some of the best defensive contribution data for any midfielder in the game. Whereas you look at Mbeumo, he's more of an end product man, you know, really high on the big chances, really high on the big chances created, whereas Bruno isn't so much there. You know, his attacking data is good, but it's not amazing. You also look at the fact Bruno has penalties and, you know, they both have set pieces. So even though Mbeumo looks better at the moment and is on better form, it could easily switch randomly. So just at a brief look, there is no one player that is better than the other, but in the transfer tips video tomorrow, if you guys are deciding between Bruno and Mbeumo, we will discuss it in that video and come to a conclusion as to which one is the best for you guys to buy. So yeah, Bruno and Mbeumo 3rd and 4th. Good fixture run, good underlying data for both of them. So if you want to own both, feel free, go for it. A bit of a curveball in the number 2 spot, we have Gakpo. I've already talked about how good that Liverpool fixture run is despite the Man City game. With Gakpo, it's a weird one. I thought Gakpo was going to get left out of the team when they brought Isak in, but it's the complete opposite. Gakpo is the only Liverpool player with some real reliable minutes, which I did not expect. And to top it off, Gakpo's underlying data in terms of midfielders is arguably the best in FPL in the last 4 game weeks. It is ridiculously good. Looking at a player under 8 mil who has 1.05 expected goal involvements per 90, you would expect everybody to have this guy in their teams, but they don't, because in game week 11 he plays away to Man City and he could be a rotation risk. I thought he was going to be a massive rotation risk, but now going into game week 10, I think he's going to be starting most games more often than not. And even if he comes on as a sub, what's to say he doesn't score, because Liverpool are really good with the late goals. This is another easy first place for a Crystal Palace player. The underlying data doesn't look great right now, but across the rest of the season, it has looked really good. He has missed a couple games through injury, but he's not really an injury prone guy, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You're not looking at DEFCONs when you're picking his Melee star, you're looking at the goals and the assists, especially the goals. While the underlying data for the expected goals isn't super high right now, it normally is for his Melee star. This is a weird blip where his underlying data is not bad, but it's average. And I can assure you with this good fixture run, it is going to shoot up very high. It's another situation like Munoz. I can understand he's going to be a differential to begin with, but his ownership is going to shoot up after the next couple game weeks. So make sure you guys are jumping on him nice and early to get those differential points. Into the forwards now. It's always tough to pick forwards, you know, there's not normally 5 good options to choose, and here I've got 3 options that I think are really good. Looking at Sesko, first of all, his underlying data for the expected goals is good. You know, all these forwards here have really good underlying data. The issue with Sesko is that he's maybe not going to play the full 90. Then again, none of these guys are. Sesko, he has 72 minutes per appearance across the last 4 game weeks because he did start as a sub against Liverpool, but I can assure you guys that's a very rare case scenario. As a United fan, I can tell you Sesko is going to be starting the majority of the Premier League games, especially because they don't have a congested fixture run now. They've, you know, knocked out the League Cup and they're not in the Champions League. They're not in any sort of European competition. So rotation there is going to be kept to a minimum. Going to Danny Welbeck, he's all right. You know, he's doing well. He's on really good form, actually, like insanely good form. The issue is I can't really guarantee you he's going to, you know, consistently keep this up. He's not going to consistently start. He might, but I can't guarantee you that he will. Like with Sesko, I think it's fairly, you know, obvious that he is going to be starting most games. Whereas with Brighton and Welbeck, the rotation is so random. While he's on good form, I think he will be starting the majority of games, but a couple bad games and it could completely change. So if you own Welbeck, be careful with that one. He is a good option, but like I said, the 3 above him and Sesko are a lot better. Looking at Thiago from Brentford, this is a weird one, okay? The fixture run isn't good for Brentford, and the fixture run has not been good for Brentford for a little while now, yet the underlying data for Thiago is absolutely ridiculous. It's, you know, in terms of expected goals, he's like the 2nd best in the game on recent form, behind Mateta, ahead of Erling Haaland. It's ridiculous how good his underlying data is despite the tough fixtures. That's why I've recommended him in this video. I've been turning a blind eye to him recently because I don't want to recommend you guys a player who's playing tough games, but he's proven to me that he can score in them tough games. Like 0.84 expected goals per 90 is ridiculous. Doing it against the likes of Liverpool last week, who to be fair aren't on great form, so it may not be that impressive. Yeah, Thiago, great differential. There is Voltemada and Mateta above him, and you may want to own those 2 with Haaland instead. But if you don't believe in Voltemada or Mateta, and you can't afford either one of them, Thiago at 6.1 million is insanely good value, and I don't see him stopping anytime soon. You know, he's in the golden boot race, you know, for 2nd place, let's be honest. no one's really racing for first place aside from Erling Haaland, but looking at the top scorers in the Premier League, Thiago is one of them. I think if you can't afford Voltemade or Mateta, it's an absolute no-brainer, an absolute must-own, because his form is way too good to ignore. Voltemade in the number 2 spot, the reason I have him a little higher than Thiago is because of the fixture run. While it kind of looks a little similar, Voltemade's fixture run long term is actually really good, and you wouldn't really sell him until around game week 19 or game week 20. So it's a pretty long term player to own who's going to be starting most games. You may want some bench cover for that Man City game, but then again, playing home to Man City is not the end of the world. The underlying data, once again, insanely good. Some of the best in FPL right now in the last 4 games, so you can rely on him to get big chances more often than not. Even in that last game week against Fulham where he didn't score, he still got a big chance and 0.4 expected goals, which isn't amazing, but sometimes that is all he will need to score a goal for your FPL teams. Unlike Thiago as well, this guy is also fairly high owned, so if you don't own him and he does return, he is going to massively hurt your rank. Kind of like Van de Ven hurt everybody's rank last game week, scoring 23 points. I mean, what an absolute Now, Crystal Palace are going 3 for 3, guys, taking the first place for defenders, first place for midfielders, and now first place for forwards. Mateta has some underlying data that I've only seen in Erling Haaland before. And this guy, 1.36 expected goals per 90, nearly 3 big chances per 90. It is unreal. The only issue is he is underperforming the expected goals quite a bit. That is a huge worry, you know, like, fair enough, he's normally a clinical finisher, and I agree, I think he's going to be clinical with his chances in the near future, but recently he hasn't, and it's a slight worry. So hopefully Mateta can put on the right shooting boots very soon, because if he starts converting them big chances, he is going to be 100% owned across all of active FPL managers, because with that good fixture run, I just don't see a world in which the expected goals slow down. You know, Crystal Palace are first for expected goals in the entire Premier League. That's something you simply cannot ignore. Somehow they lost Eze and they're looking even better than last season. I don't understand how it works. They're just ridiculous. Oliver Glasner, their manager, has done an amazing job. So Mateta, I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. In fact, I see him speeding up, because the fixtures he's had haven't exactly been easy and the expected goals are still ridiculously high. So please, 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 if you can afford Mateta, buy him. Bring him into your teams. Even if you have Pedro and you need to take a hit, sell Pedro for a -4 to bring in Mateta, and I promise you won't regret it. Number 1 essential player to own this game week, guys. Anyway, that is it from me. Let me know what you think of my opinions down below. Do you think I missed anyone? Do you think I overrated anyone? Put them a little too highly? Feel free to let me know. If you did make it this far, you are greatly appreciated. And as always, I will see you all in the next video.